Best of r/Choosing Beggars episode 18. I used to work for a computer manufacturer in their small business division in 2000, so I guess this was a fledgling influencer. One afternoon, I had a young sounding guy call me with a great business proposition. Apparently our millions of dollars in advertising was going to waste because if we gave him a computer, he'd show it to all of his friends, and because of his connections, we'd sell more than enough to make up for the one we gave him. I told him I had an even better idea. I'd get my boss to send him a free one right after he got 99 sales under his name. All he had to do was have his friends call me to let them know he'd influenced the sale, and once we hit 99, he'd get his free one. Obviously, since he had so many friends and associates, this wouldn't be a problem, and according to his estimates it should be easily and quickly attainable. For some reason, he wasn't very happy with this and I never heard from him again. Thank you. Next. This past Halloween, we handed out candy, as you're allowed to do. Well, it was getting super late and had just handed out the last bit of candy. I was fixing a nightly snack when I hear a knock on the front door. A woman and her kids were at the door, wanting candy. I told them that we didn't have any candy, out of respect. The kids were obviously disappointed. The mom was having none of it. She demanded to give them candy. I told her that I didn't have any more. Give them candy. We don't have candy, lady. You gotta have something. Alright. I got you. I walked to the fridge, grabbed a few Monster Energy drinks from the fridge, small cans, and dropped them in their bags. If you don't know what a Monster Energy drink is, it's a bitter energy drink that give you energy for a few hours. With their smaller bodies, I can only imagine how hectic it was that night for her kids. Maybe she'll learn her lesson. Thank you. Next. So my mom's job gives her a phone for free to use for work purposes, and recently, she's got a new one from her job so she could afford to give away or sell her existing one, which was an iPhone 6. My uncle, who knew this, asked her if she had a phone to give away to him since he needed a new phone and couldn't afford one. My mom offered to give him the iPhone 6, and I kid you not, he actually turns his nose up at it and goes like, only an iPhone 6? I wanted an iPhone 10. I don't want it anymore. Right, single quotation mark. Like, okay, sure. We can't even afford an iPhone 10 on our own and you expect an iPhone 10 from us. In your dreams, maybe. Thank you. Next. My husband's job was being transferred to another state. We were having to downsize from a 4,000 square home to a 1,500 square home in another state. We were about to have a huge yard sale to get rid of the items, furniture, clothes, gym equipment, housewares we couldn't take with us. A friend I've known since kindergarten lost her home due to a fire just before we were ready to advertise our sale. My heart was broken for her and her family. I can't imagine how devastated I'd feel if I lost everything I have. I invited her and her family to come over and get anything we had for sale they might need. All they had to do was choose what they wanted and haul it away. I even offered them a place to hold any furniture they might want until they could find a more permanent storage solution. I really wanted to give as much as I could to help them start over. I should have known something was off when she complained about our conflicting schedules. I worked office hours. My hubby is second shift. Friend worked graveyard shift and her hubby worked second shift. We ended up taking a day off to accommodate their schedule. When they come to our house, I told her she could have anything that was marked with a post-it note. We'd priced what was for sale that way. She scoffed at the price tags, remarking several times at how high the prices were. I told her she could have, for free, any item with a tag. She went around the house seemingly displeased at what I had to offer. She seemed offended that my nicer items, the ones I was taking with me, weren't things I would give to her. Like, no, I'm taking my flat screen TV and antique bedroom suite with me. She even scoffed at the clothing selection we had marked for sale because they weren't her style. In the end, she only took the treadmill, elliptical, and the piano, saying they would do for now. Seriously? Edited for misspelling. Edit. To clarify, this took place a few years ago. We've had no contact since the FB thank you post. As to why I didn't kick her out, I needed the stuff gone and she was willing to haul away some really heavy stuff. A definite win for me, especially with the piano because it needed a ton of TLC. With regard to the piano, I was actually expecting to have to either give it away or having to pay to have it hauled away. If she was trying to make a quick buck, I don't begrudge her for that. As many have pointed out, used gym equipment isn't a big money maker. Plus, she may have needed cash more than stuff. I really don't care about the stuff or the snub. I rest quite easily at night knowing I tried to do a good deed. Thank you. Next. CB still choosing beggar sister-in-law. I want to begin by saying I have no issues with people who have more than one baby shower, especially if there is a large span of time between kids. With that being said, quick backstory. My parents are not at all rich due to my mom's serious medical bills, so cannot afford extravagant gifts. My mom doesn't travel much because of her health, so myself and the rest of my siblings bring our children to see her rather than the other way around. This makes sense to all of us. Except my CB Sil, who expects my mom to always be the one to visit and claims, because as a result she sees them less, that my mom doesn't love her children as much as the rest of her grandkids. She also throws tantrums and threatens to withhold grandkids when my mom can't buy super expensive gifts. We're talking gaming consoles and $80 games to go with them. To get back at my mom, she blocked her on Facebook and posts awful things about her for the rest of the family to see. This summer, my CB Sil was having her 5th child. My mom, knowing they didn't have much and feeling bad because she'd just thrown me a baby shower for my first baby, offered to have a small party for them. She explained her budget was tight, so she planned on hosting it at a local pizza place and put a limit on the number of people that could come. Knowing that CB Sil's friends are not exactly generous, she offered to give them $300 instead if they would prefer to just buy what they need instead of hoping someone else would. CB Sil's main goal in life, however, is to be the center of attention, so she turned down the money and went with the shower. At first, all was well in the land of just regular beggars. And then CB Sil started telling my mom that the food wouldn't be good enough, that the place my shower was at was nicer and it wasn't fair. Keep in mind my mill split the cost with my mom for my shower, that she had more friends she wanted to invite, blah, blah, and blah. She then tells my mom that everyone else agrees it should be at such and such restaurant. My mom looks it up. The price would end up being around $25 per person with around 30 people attending. My mom tries to explain why she can't afford this and how it is way outside of her budget. She gets more talk about how nice my shower was without understanding that 4 people helped put everything together and split the cost. My mom was doing this for CB Sil out of the kindness of her heart and with only my sister and I helping with decorations and games. The full cost of food and the venue was on her. That didn't matter to CB Sil though, and what ensued was weeks of passive aggressiveness, nasty FB posts. My mom was still blocked, so thankfully, she couldn't see them, and people attending the shower talking about my mom while eating the food she paid for and knowing she was in the same room. CB Sil took about 2 months after the shower to find an excuse. My mom wanted to put money towards expensive gifts for my nephew's day instead of outright buying it, and cut off contact, including not letting my mom see her grandkids. Again, there are a lot of stories I could share about my CB Sil, but this is the one that hurt my mom the most. Note, brother goes along with CB Sil in all matters and badmouths everyone who defends my mom. Thank you. Next. My dad owns and runs a restaurant in New Delhi. The other day a typical Karen came in with her 4 kids and did all kinds of Karen things. One of the desserts on the menu is Bengali Malpua. Karen demanded Rajasthani Malpua, which is a bit different and is not served at the restaurant. She caused a scene and ranted about how incompetent the kitchen staff must be, and that the restaurant should give her a discount for not getting her Rajasthani Malpua. How dare you? Was uttered several times. My dad had to go out and calm her down. He explained to her that no, the restaurant wasn't going to give her a discount for not having something in the menu, and that the recipes for the 2 desserts were quite different and only one of them was made there. She finally calmed down. Her 4 kids were as annoying as her. Well, what else did you expect? They screamed, ran around, threw food around. Several of the other customers complained. Karen had to be told to keep them quiet, otherwise she would be asked to leave. Karen bitched about how the other customers should just mind their own business and begrudgingly told her kids to sit quietly. She and her kids had ordered chicken and rotis. One of her kids had barely picked at his food. When she was presented with the check, she argued that she shouldn't have to pay for the meal that one of her kids hadn't eaten, because according to her infinite wisdom he only ate a few morsels. You can sell it to someone else. I shouldn't have to pay for it. Karen looked like she had been sucker punched by a bunny rabbit when she was informed that that's not how this works and that she would be paying for the whole meal. She started another rant about how ridiculous this system was. Thus began another round of introducing Karen to logic. My dad had to go out there again to confront her. He told her in no uncertain terms that she will have to pay for everything she had ordered regardless of how much of it was eaten. Some of the other customers too let her know that she was crazy, just not in so many words. Ultimately, Karen did pay, while grumbling about how my dad scams people. ? She then left in a chauffeur-driven Hummer. And surprisingly, she didn't tip. Thank you. Next. So my mom's job gives her a phone for free to use for work purposes, and recently, she's got a new one from her job so she could afford to give away or sell her existing one, which was an iPhone 6. My uncle, who knew this, asked her if she had a phone to give away to him since he needed a new phone and couldn't afford one. My mom offered to give him the iPhone 6, and I kid you not, he actually turns his nose up at it and goes like, only an iPhone 6? I wanted an iPhone 10. I don't want it anymore. Right? ? Like, okay, sure. We can't even afford an iPhone 10 on our own and you expect an iPhone 10 from us. In your dreams, maybe.